Performers Pod is presented by Blue Movie PR. Your brand is more than just content, it's an experience. At Blue Movie PR, adult entertainment talent is supported with public relations that respect both the art and the person behind it. Led by Jim Steele, Blue Movie PR builds compelling narratives that connect performers with new audiences and help solidify long-term legacy. With a boutique talent first oriented approach and tiered pricing designed to meet creators at every stage of their career, Blue Movie PR is focused on entirely building your success. Let's tell your story together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special AVN Week episode of the Performers Pod. I'm here today with 2026 AVN Award nominee Kaela Luna. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. First off, congrats on your nominations. You're nominated
Thanks.
for Best New Trans Newcomer. Wait, yeah, Best New Trans
Best
Starlet
trans
or
newcomer.
yeah, I feel like it's essentially like the trans version of like the Best New Starlet
Yeah, I think
award.
so.
Yeah.
That's what somebody explained it to me as because I like at first I was confused. I'm like, well, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and they're just like, it's the recognition, you know what I mean? That the industry's
Yeah.
recognizing. I'm like, well, that's okay. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's honestly really cool because like I'm a million years in porn. I got in 2013, so
Oh,
I'm a
cool.
fucking grandma. Um, and there were not these categories for trans women like that. Like it was like, okay, you're either up for trans performer of the year or that was like kind of it.
Oh, that
So
was it.
that it's like expanded and now there's room for the
For the
girls who are on the
newbies.
yeah, for
Yeah.
girls on the come up. I love that. Well,
Yeah, that's
congratulations on that.
thank you.
And you're also nominated for favorite trans performer.
Yes, that's correct.
Um,
That's the fan nomination.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm up for trans creator, and I feel like we have the exact same sort of experience that I
Uh-huh.
feel like these trans categories are so loaded with like literally future Hall of Famers like Aubrey Kate, Emma Rose, Bailey J, Brittany Kate.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to like be
I
like,
know.
oh
When I see
yeah,
people are like, "Oh wow, you got nominated. I hope you win." I was like, "Well, it's like I'm up against like the big mega stars, So, I was like, it's nice just to be named alongside them.
I feel like it's like being nominated for a Grammy and be like, oh yeah, like I released a really good indie album and I'm like really proud of what I'm doing and be like, oh, who are you nominated against? You're like, oh well, like Taylor Swift and Beyonce, but
Yeah,
you know,
it's like, but my name's up there with them.
yeah, I'm there. I get to wear a dress,
Uh-huh.
the red carpet, all that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it's like, still a
um,
party for me.
yeah. So this is your second year being nominated for AVN.
That's correct. The first year was another fan nomination, and that was for hottest trans collab.
Mm,
Which is funny because like that was a surprise because I hadn't even really like campaigned. I hadn't asked anybody, my co-star, the producer, none of us had done anything. So somebody had just saw our video and was just like, yes, and put it in there.
hell yeah.
And we are like, okay, cool. So I was like, I guess I'm going to AVN this year. And that was my first time going to an award show. And I was overwhelmed. I was so like,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, this is huge. And I was like, there's a lot of people here, like not just within the the trans community, just the entire industry. And there's all this money and all this glitz and glam. And I'm just like, God, everyone's so gorgeous here.
It's
And I
crazy.
was yeah, I was like, I'm starting to get a little bit of like, the what's that called? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but again, it wouldn't have been like, there's other collabs here that I'm like, I feel like I know which one's going to win, but it's just cool to be here. And one of my industry besties at the time, or I mean, she's still my industry bestie, but last year she was nominated for Best Trans Newcomer. So
Hmm.
I was like, I want to be there to like support her and root her on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go either way and just be there and have fun. But by the end of that weekend, I was definitely just overwhelmed. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
this took a lot more out of me than I had shored up coming into this weekend. So I felt a little frazzled by the end of it. And now I'm going into it this year, fully loaded up. Now I'm doing more of the politicking. Now I have more. I'm going into it knowing who I want to talk to, who I want to schmooze
Hmm.
to, what I want to do, and I'm hoping I'll have prepared myself enough this time to not be completely wiped out by the end of the weekend.
It's so crazy. I feel like at the end of every AVN, the end of every like Pride weekend, I'm like,
Hmm.
enjoyed that. It was
Yeah.
magnificent, but I need another year between doing this
Yeah,
again.
you're like, but I'm going to like decompress, cry after this, just to like,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not sad. I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, I feel like especially like your first few years, you have the
Mhm.
emotion to it. Like my
Yeah,
third year, I remember crashing out afterwards and being like, I was nominated for 4 awards. Oh my God, why didn't I win? And then like 20 minutes
yeah,
later, I'm like, okay, I'm fine,
I'm
And I
good.
feel like it's
It's
okay to have
overwhelming.
that. That's what
Yeah,
your like 20s are for.
I was like that in because last year for the TEAs, I
Hmm.
got 5 nominations, and I was like, I was just that was because that was my between that and the AVN, that was the only like the first time I'd ever been nominated,
Yeah.
and I hadn't tried the T's I was really like pushing for, because that's more intimate, and that's what I kind of liked that. I was like, it's just me and the dolls, you know what I mean? Like I know
Yeah.
there's some hot studs there, too, but we're like it's just like this is more of like the trans community's porn, and it felt
Yeah,
more
for
intimate and
real.
more like I know we're all on the same page here, as opposed to like when you're at the AVNs, you're like, there's still people who are giving you those looks, you know what I mean? Of like, oh, I see, you're only a fan of the cis stuff, and you see us as kind of like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And just like, I thought we were here to celebrate just how crazy and fun porn is. Like, we're not yucking anyone's yum, right? Like, what are you doing here then if you're
Yeah.
gonna have like, shitty attitude? So,
Yeah, I think there is like still a different vibe you get, especially like
mm.
so half the time I'm like not nominating trans categories, so like BDSM is like my main category.
Oh,
So
cool.
like when it goes from being like, oh, I'm up for a trans performer or something to oh,
Hmm.
I'm up for BDSM, I feel like the expectation from people is a lot different. I don't know if that's
Oh,
them just assuming you're cis or something because you're
yep.
up for a non-trans category, or if it's
Yeah.
just in general. But yeah, I've like definitely noticed that. When did you get into the industry?
Well, technically, I started in like my first like studio shoot was with Groovy in
Hmm.
like 2021, I think, and that was just kind of like actually it might have been 2020 or something. Geez, sorry, I'm just trying to run it back in my head. And that was with Ja Wolf was my producer, and he had reached out to me. I just started like my Twitter, and he saw my stuff, and he's
Hmm.
just like, "Hey, do you want to like do this?" I was like, "Oh my god," I was like, "Groovy wants to shoot me," I'm so
Hmm.
excited, and I went and I did that, and they put me on Fem which is like for people early in their transition. I was like, "Okay,
Oh, they have a site of that?
yeah."
Oh,
It was,
huh.
and I was kind of like, it was one of those like, I get it, and it's humbling because like those pictures will surface sometimes. I'm just like, wow, look at you, babe. Like I've come a long way since then. But it's still like that was my beginning, and then like Ja Wolf passed away. Like I was scheduled to do another shoot with him, and he
Mm.
passed away like the
Oh, I'm
week
so
of
sorry.
my shoot. Yeah, I was like, and like him and I had
Oh,
become like friends, because he was kind of like the first producer that kind of like took me in and really was just like,
yeah.
no, you got it. Like you got something. I want to see what we can do with you. You can go places. And I'm like, wow, So losing him was kind of rough. And I took a little time away. Like after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing content creation,
Hmm.
and was still working and putting it together as becoming kind of my full-time job. And I was doing a lot of like my own passionate content. Like I don't know if you've seen like my giantess content, but
Oh yeah,
that
I definitely know it's like a fetish vibe to it where I'm like, okay, girl, that's cool.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
like
You exploring.
I was focusing on that, and then in 2024, I was like, you know what, I just want to let's give it another shot. Let me try the
Hmm.
studio thing again, and I just scheduled myself for a bunch of shoots, and it just everything clicked. Everything was just
Hell
like
yeah.
I was in the vibe. I was feeling myself. I had figured out what I want for myself. That was the same time I had rebranded because I had been known as Kayla Moon for a while, and then I was like,
Oh,
I
okay.
want to just change it all up, So I used to have like purple hair and all this other stuff. And I was like, nope, I'm a grown up. I was just like, I don't want to look like I'm trying, to give this look. You know what I mean? Like I was
Hmm.
definitely more in this very explorative, um, explosive kind of like way. And then I was like, I want to kind of, be demure. I want to
Hmm.
like tone it down a little bit. So I lost the purple hair, and I really kind of had toned in my look and my brand and all these other things, and was like, hey, let's just see what studio porn, how it works for me now. And it clicked, and everything just kind of really worked out great. So even though that it was like, I technically say like, well, 2020 is when I entered the industry. It's like, I really think 2024 was when it was like, that was the real, that's like, it came
Hmm.
perfectly with the rebrand. I was like, now I'm really doing it. So with the AVN, like, being nominated for best trans newcomer, that's what I equated to. I was like, my lifelong fans are gonna be like, well, she's been here since 2020, but I'm like, yeah, but I haven't really been here in the
Yeah.
industry until like 2024, So I was like, I guess it makes sense now when I look at it that way.
Yeah, I feel like it's like really stepping onto like the bigger stage. Like I think that's what's
Hmm.
really representing. How old were you when you got into porn?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is going to date you. And then everyone's going to know how old I
Oh,
am.
okay. How old do you say you were when you got into porn? I'm 2 years younger on Google than I am in real life, so I feel
Really?
you. Yeah.
I mean, if you go to like certain websites, like I think like IAFD, you know what I mean, is going to tell you my age anyways. So I was, let's see, I must have been roughly in my early 30s at the
Okay.
time. Yeah,
Love that.
now I'm in my late 30s.
I feel like that's
So,
so cool though. Like I feel like there's so many misconceptions about porn where it's like
mhm,
I appreciate the girls who are 18 years old and are like I was in high school, I knew I was going to do porn. So I started doing it.
mhm.
Like I worked with two or three girls who are like literally started doing it their senior year of high school and they're like, yeah, that's what I was here for.
I
But
mean,
like
sorry, go on.
I know, but I like that there's like all these different people that find porn through all different ways in different stages in their life. Like I had
Yeah.
this performer on this podcast actually. She started porn at 50 and that's
Oh,
she
I
learned
love
that she
that.
was
I love that for
into
her.
women
Uh-huh.
and on a porn set when she was 50 years old.
I love that. That's amazing.
Right?
That's what I like to hear. I I mean, so technically for me, I guess I started young because this was before I even transitioned. And I
Mm,
was and I've told people this a lot, like I was deep in the closet. You know what I mean? Like I knew I had
yeah.
tendencies since I was a young child, but like reactions of like my family and my town scared me. And I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
people can't, well, I can't let people know about this. There's bad things will happen to me. So I like really buried it deep, and it would just come through in those little ways throughout, adolescence and into, my young adult life, until it finally, like, everything clicked into place. And I was like, holy shit, I've been running from
Yeah.
this whole time. And it came to, but one of those little ways that it came through before I even came out was I used to take like pictures of myself, and I wouldn't show my head, and I would like put my thighs together, and I put like my hand over like my chest, you know what I mean? And I would take
Yeah.
these like digital, pictures of myself and upload them to these forums and stuff like that, where
Hmm.
people were seeing it, reacting to
Yeah.
me like I was a cis woman. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I like this attention, and I like that everyone's speaking to me like a woman and all this other stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm just doing these like little scandalous things and just, showing off my body, but not the parts that are going to like get me clocked,
Yeah. Not like a
And
ball.
yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna do like little fruit
Yeah.
baskets, thing. So I did that stuff for a while, and I loved that attention. And so I
Hmm.
think that had kind of planted the seed there too. And then of course I also, for a long time, my young adult life, I was working in Chatsworth. You know what I mean? So I was like, there
Oh
was
yeah.
definitely
You're there.
porn, just on the periphery of what I was doing. I was working at like, like a science supply company at the time, like a really boring job, but it was still on the periphery. And I just, I liked porn. I wasn't like an addict to it, but there was something that I just found, like the expression of it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was a very sexual, person growing up. It was whether I was subjected to it or if it was my own interests and things I pursued. But
Hmm.
as I mentioned earlier, I was like, what I found so beautiful about porn and the celebration of it is the kinks, the fetishes, and things
Yeah.
like that,
Fuck
and the
yeah.
way that it manifests differently in people, and the way that I've seen as a sex worker how people have taken traumas and repackaged them as kinks and as fetishes, because they're like, it allows them to get power back over it. It's like, well, now this thing that used to like that hurt me or haunted me, I'm now deriving pleasure from, and it's a way of like, I'm taking control of this, I'm getting powered from this. And
Hmm.
I think that's just, beautiful. And then there's just other little things that are quirky, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I was doing customs today, and every now and then I'll just get one of those customs, and they're just like, they're so far out, they're just like, the person's asking for something
Hmm.
so niche, and so like, I don't get it, but I love that you want it, And I understand that like maybe you've asked other creators to do this and they're just like, no, it's not my thing. And I'm like, it's not my thing, but I want to deliver that to you. I want to give you
Hmm.
this experience because I know you're not going to find this content anywhere. And I don't know. I think that's amazing. So there were definitely aspects in my life that I was like wanting to get into it, but things happen the way they happen, and the pieces
Yeah.
didn't fall into place until I had like turned 30. And believe me, if I wish I could go change things, I would have loved to have started in my 20s, because right now, I'm competing with girls who are in their 20s, and I'm just like,
That's
you know,
it's so true. Like, also, as someone who transitioned in her teens, like being a girl who's like in college age, that shit's so fucking chaotic. Whether you're being read
really,
as cis or trans, holy shit, that shit's so crazy. Where I talk to like older trans women or who transition later who are like,
yeah.
oh, I wish I had that. I'm like, girl, it's fun, but also that shit was crazy. Just because,
Yeah.
like, yeah, because you get
I
like,
Go on.
you just like get the dumb shit from like your like roommates, boyfriends and shit who are like sliding into
Mm,
your DMs and like doing
mm,
weird shit like that where you're like not only dealing with on some level like the fetishization, like being trans, but you're
yeah.
also just dealing with all the basic dumbass college shit every cis girl's dealing with.
Oh, fun.
So it's like the weird mix of both where you're like, okay, I feel like I am being subjected to like I transitioned when I was like it was like 2010, like early 2010s,
Hmm.
like right after high school age for me. So like there was like no jobs essentially. That's how I got into sex work originally. But then you
Hmm.
still had to deal with all the other dumb shit from
Yeah.
society that women have to
Oh, I
deal
imagine.
with. It's just like
Absolutely.
all of it is a fire hose at once and you're just like, "Oh my
Oh
God."
yeah. No, and
Yeah.
like I said, like my town like was scary. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
recognize like, there's times I fantasize like, oh, what if I had like transitioned in high school? And I got onto this because like the worst thing about transitioning late in life is just
Mhm.
the ravages of the hormones that you were not meant to have. You know what I mean? And testosterone
Yeah.
always felt like poison to me, and I hated it and I was miserable,
Mhm.
throughout it. But I just dealt with it, and I thought that was it, and it just didn't wasn't great for my mental health. But I think about it like, oh man, if I had transitioned early and I could have gotten in before the testosterone started to change my bodies in the ways I hated, how much happier would I be? But then I was like, but girl, you were in a town where like there was nobody out, and you were not
Yeah.
out because you had heard of people laughing about causing harm to anyone that they found to be queer, and you're just like,
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, I recognized was doing it out of survival. I was hiding for my safety,
Mhm.
and I had great times with my friends. And sometimes I think like, who knows? Like if I had come out, they might have like we might have not been friends. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It may have not worked, and I would have missed out on all these amazing experiences I had in high school, even if I was, you know, parading as a gender I wasn't. You know what I mean? But even like you said, though, it's like even though I was still projecting this thing. And like, I was, as much as I was trying to be a guy, like, I still got
Mhm.
called out, made fun of for being very
Yeah.
feminine, in a lot of ways.
You
And
can
it was one
always
of those,
tell.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I dated two lesbians who knew I was trans before I did. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of
Like,
course.
yeah. So there's people who knew, and I kind of just rolled with it, as best as I could. But I still tried not to get too comfortable with it, just in case I went a little too far, and then it became
Yeah.
like, oh no, not just a joke. Now suddenly people are getting angry about it or something. But even then, it's like I had those experiences with friends, with like other friends of friends, people who were dating, kind of like doing the thing of like sliding into DMs, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
just suddenly making these uncomfortable passes, even though I wasn't like out, there was still
Mhm.
this like, you're putting me in this awkward position. Like, even in my hometown, like, someone who would come to me crying, confessing that they have these feelings that they're scared because of the town, and that they have this attraction, and they're confiding in me, and I'm just like, okay, like they're there, like everything's gonna be okay. And then the next thing I know, they're like, well, if we had sex, everything would maybe that would make me feel better. I'm like, oh, well, okay, like let's give it a shot. Like I just want to help, so let's do it. And then we did it. And then they'd be like, if you tell anybody, I'd fucking kick your ass. And I'm like, oh, okay, like,
Oh,
yeah, I was like, that was like, I had those kind of experiences, which is like I look back, I'm like, yeah, there's a reason I was in the closet for so long. So I hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? As much as I fantasize about if I had started earlier, I also recognize that it wouldn't have made life easier. You know what I mean? Things
Yeah.
wouldn't have been better for me. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. But from the age side of it, like I do have that like, well, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna be that cigarette dame who's just like, just bitter towards the young starlets. Like I used to be something,
It
like
it is fucking so crazy. Like that's why I'm like very glad that like BDSM is my main category now because like
uh,
all these girls are like fucking 19 and they're like the prettiest fucking girls in the
I
world.
know there's so
And
many
you're
pretty
just like,
girls.
what the fuck? I'm like, I was nominated. I think my first AVN nomination was like when I was like 21, 22.
Oh,
So I was like
congrats.
young and shit.
Hmm.
But I don't feel like girls back then looked like that. Like the trans girls now, I'm just like, damn.
Yeah,
You
this is.
you started
Yeah,
hormones at like 12 or something?
I'm in
Like
awe
the
too.
fuck?
I'm just like girls, like there's that bittersweet feeling of like I'm so happy for you, and you're just like saying it through clenched teeth. Like I genuinely am happy for you, but like, damn, how is this fair? How am I supposed to compete?
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah, no.
it's crazy. Um, what you said you were into porn. I'm a really
Hmm.
big porn fan girl, even before getting into it. Who
Hmm.
were your like porn performers that you looked up to? Trans, cis?
Let's see. I mean, on the trans side, I've always had such a respect for Natalie Mars.
Mm,
Like she's one of the queen bees. And I actually got to meet her last year, and it was so funny because I was at SizeCon, which is this
hmm.
very small, intimate group for the size play community, the giantess community, and all that. And
Yeah.
like it's a little, intimate get together. And she showed up there, and my jaw just dropped because I was like, "What are you doing here?" You know what I mean? I
Mm,
was just like, "You don't do this kind of content, like." Oh my god. And I just started fangirling over her and tried to like dial it in. And she just was the best. Like she was so warm and so sweet. And I'll never forget that, like, she's like, give me a hug. And I gave her a hug, and she was one of those real, like, just kind of held you there for like a
hmm.
moment longer than you expected, and just kind of like a little bit of the back rub. And I was just like, that was a real hug. I was like, that wasn't just a like,
Hmm.
hey. And that touched me. I was just like, that's so sweet.
It's so great.
Yeah, so that meant a lot to me. I loved her, and then there's some of like the giantess, performers I liked
Mhm.
too. But a lot of the girls I liked were some very off the not the main chorus girls, but I loved BBW girls. Like I
Oh, like
just
who?
let's see, there's like Billy Bombs.
Hmm.
Was is so beautiful. God, I'm blanking on some of their names right now. Emma something. Gosh, I can't. Yeah, I'm so bad with names. It's they're saved in folders somewhere that I haven't been in years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I almost had it for a second there. But like, I still do, and I want to be, and I tell people this all the time. Where I'm like, I'm playing by the industry's rules right now. Kind of thing. Like the studios are getting attention to me, so I'm trying to maintain the body that they have fallen for. But I
Hmm.
keep telling people, I'm like, listen, I'm going to play the game for a little bit more, maybe another year or two, but then I'm going to just kind of fall back and make my body absolutely the way I want it. And what I have in mind for me is like, I want to be like a big girl. I just think like, oh, just like those BBW girls are just gorgeous. I'm just in love with them. And I've always just had like a fondness for that. I'm just like, I just love myself some big girls. How about yourself? Like, what kind of, like, I mean, BDSM must have been one of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like Sasha Grey is like my all-time
Uh
number
huh.
one.
Okay.
Like, I feel like most of my career has been cosplaying Sasha Grey. It's a trans woman. Um, Stoya is another one that's really up there for me. Do you know Princess Donna?
The name is familiar, but I don't know her.
Yeah, she do you know the Public Disgrace series?
Nope.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. Oh my God. That was like my favorite thing ever. Actually she came out of retirement, I think 2 years ago, and we got to
Really?
do so Public Disgrace is it's the craziest plot of porn, and it's so hard to plan. So you essentially book a public location. So like for
Mm-hmm.
mine, we booked a venue that allowed sexual performance, but then
Mm-hmm.
we turned into a nightclub, and then we got I think like 60 extras there, and we filmed a
Uh-huh.
gangbang that's in public.
Uh-huh.
It's like the most extreme gangbang possible.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yes.
gangbangs.
So, have you gone to shoot any?
No, I've been trying. I've done like, because I used to like frequent like sex clubs and there would just be
Yeah.
impromptu gangbangs and it was the best. But I've been trying to get like, I've been telling so many producers, I'm like, I want to get a gangbang. And they're like, we can get that together for you. But like, they haven't manifested quite yet. I have a few different producers telling me they're working on it. We're pulling it together. But I'm like, listen, I'm going to start pulling it together myself. I've
You
been to
just
New
need to
York
do it
for,
yourself.
yeah, at this
These
point.
you'll own it. You'll have ownership of it. Like, I think I've done 5 or 6 on camera now.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, the public disgrace was.
I'll have to like when we're off of this, I might like pull you for a little bit of advice on that because the hard part is, of course, with the guys is like you're gonna want if you want 5 on set, you should talk to 10. You know what I mean? Because half
Yeah.
of them are going to flake out, and so many of them are just like, well, what do you mean I have to sign a release? You know what I mean? Or like these other things. I'm like, are you not a perform?
Ugh.
Like like they kind of don't get it, and it starts becoming hard. And then here in New York, is like, oh, well, now we need a space big enough to fit this many people. And it's like, it's New
Yeah.
York. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
everything is small and
you can
expensive.
find a place in Brooklyn. You can find a place in Brooklyn.
That's true. That's true.
There's definitely a place in Williamsburg that you could sell on that.
Hmm.
Or like maybe like Bed-Stuy. But do you usually shoot mostly like straight content or?
I prefer to.
Oh,
I
okay.
do like, I do. I mean, I shoot a lot of T for T stuff, and I think some of my
Yeah.
hottest content has been that. But my favorite to shoot is usually with cis guys,
Okay.
just
Cool.
because I mean, but that's just because like I'm kind of like a size queen, and I really like to get pounded hard,
Mhm.
and I've found like with the exception to a few of like trans girls I've shot with, like Ava Venom, who I just
Mhm.
love. Like I love filming with her because she's a powerhouse when it comes to topping. Like damn. Um, but like for the most part I found it like cis guys really hit the spot the way I like to, and it looks good, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And when I've shot with trans girls, it's like it's sweeter, and I like that too, you know what I mean? It's like it's more intimate, we're both a little bit more shy most of the time, we're both bottoms, like versatile,
Yeah.
bottom leaning, so we do a little bit more of like exploratory, and it's a little bit of topping, but it's nothing too
Yeah.
crazy. And as a lot of people who I've worked with before, because I tell them that, I'm like, listen, like with me, like it doesn't matter how many performance drugs you give me or anything like that. I was like, me topping is kind of just a blue moon type of thing. It's just like everything will just align, and I'll suddenly just be like rock hard, and I'll be like, all right, let's do this, and I'll get some really great topping scene out. Other times I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just like she's just decided not to come out of her trailer today. She's just going to be a diva. And I'm just like, okay, well, so usually when we set up scenes, I'm like, let's make it a possible flip fuck scene. But let's not, whatever you do, do not make it reliant on me topping, because that's going to make things tricky. You
I've been
know,
out of mainstream trans porn for so long. Are people still like doing drugs to like get hard in porn in trans porn?
I do. I
Oh,
use.
really?
I mean, I use like I'll use Viagra or
Oh,
Cialis, but
okay.
I also have fucked around with the Trimix a couple
What is
times,
that?
and oh, that's the straight in the dick shot.
Oh my God. Oh
You
my
haven't heard
God,
of
girl. I
this?
know about it only
Okay.
because I know someone who had their dick like broken because of that. Like their dick literally
Ah,
can't
don't
get
tell
hard
me
anymore.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, girl.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I've used it, and even then, that's not like foolproof for me. Like I said, it's just like sometimes it's like, and I think the problem is that when it comes to like and I know this isn't unique to me thing, I feel like a lot of trans girls kind of deal with this. When I have to use my dick, I kind of tend to disassociate, you know what I mean? And it's like I can do it for the performance, but in my mind I'm kind of like like it's just I'm doing it, and it's just like I'm like it's hot, but it doesn't feel like part of me. It almost feels like something else, and I have this like disconnect from it. And I have nothing against my dick besides her being a stubborn co-star, you know what I mean, like not wanting to work half the time. But it's like I've noticed that when I'm like, well, my happiest moments is when I'm just being like railed, you know what I mean, by
Yeah.
somebody hard. Like that's just when I'm just brain melting. I'm just in heaven. It's just bliss for me, and I'm giving my best performance, in my opinion. Um, But when I have to top, it's just kind of like that feels more like the job, type of thing.
Yeah.
And if everything's working, I'm happy with how it comes out. But it's still just that like I get nervous because I'm like, it may not come out great. So I always just try to warn my producers of like, let's not put too much pressure on, relying the whole scene on this, and we'll have a better shoot. Because if you are banking on me doing it, I'm like, we're going to have to cut frequently for me to kind of like get hard again, type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what I would say is like my like weak point as a performer, is just that like I know a lot of the big stars like can top reliably, and that's what people want to see. And I make my fans love watching me top. And if I can pull it off, I'm like fantastic. I look amazing. This is great. But it takes a little bit more work just because I'm like, that's not where my mind's at.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. I've been out of mainstream trans porn for so fucking long, where
Yeah.
I'm a big old dyke, if you can't tell. So I'm just like, yeah, like even in my gangbang, I don't think there were any cis men there. There was a trans girl who was fucking me, and even during that scene, as you were saying, I was like, the entire time I was getting fucked, I'm like, you're so pretty though, and I'm like being electrocuted at the same time. I'm
Those
like
are the
being
moments
choked
we
out
live for.
electrocuted. I'm like, you're so pretty though. But like, is it still so much of a thing where it's like you're expected to top as a trans woman? Because
I think so. I think
really,
so. Yeah, I think you can. I think there's become a little bit. There has been some easing up on it.
hmm
Like I don't think it's maybe as crazy, but I also know that something that can happen is if you do start like if you are topping a lot,
hmm
then you start getting like like almost like it is in Hollywood. You start getting typecasted as a
yeah,
top, and then you're going to keep getting stuff. And it's like I've known some of the girls who are up there with A-listers have like opened up and talked about that, how they're not tops and they don't like topping, but because they can top, that's what they keep getting, and it's kind of like now they can't get out of it, and it's like
yeah.
and it's kind of a shitty situation for them. And I'm just like, I'm like, well, thank God that's not going to be me because I can't reliably top. But I would probably be getting bigger parts if I could, because there are a lot of studios that's what they're interested in, is like a strong trans girl top. Because as I mentioned earlier, like with my own stuff, um, people like to see me top. It's
hmm
like when the videos where I'm topping sell just as much as what I think is like my hottest like bottoming video. So I think I mean a lot of this industry really is just catering to a lot of men fantasy, because they are one of the bigger, the biggest probably consumers of this stuff. So I notice from, just what I get in DMs, a lot of guys like to project their fantasies on you, and they all assume that all of us trans girls are tops. You know what I mean? There's so many guys that are just like, oh, I'd let you, fuck me. And I'm just like, what do you mean let me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like
Yeah.
banging down your door trying to get in there. But they just kind of assume that that's what we do and that's what they like to see. Um, and I feel like that has coincided with a rise in popularity of guys wanting to be pegged by cis girls. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
have so many cam clients who are straight men who
mhm.
are bottoms now, who are like, I only bottom. That's all I do. And it's just like
Oh,
so different than even,
yeah,
five
which is
years
great.
ago.
Which is,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I feel like versus how it was back, when I was younger,
hmm
the amount of guys that are coming around to being open to bottoming or just like any kind of anal stimulation. Like I remember when I was a kid, it's just like if you even look at your bone butthole,
Yeah.
you're gay. You
You're
know what I mean? And there's
gay.
all
You're
this like
gay.
if you wiped yourself too many times, you're gay. And there's this weird like there was this whole like fixation on it that was so like and this
Yeah.
was me at the same time being like, well, I'm walking around the house sticking anything I can find up in there because it feels amazing, and I'm just like, you guys are missing out. Like, it's nice. And so I like that, like, that has eased up. And I'm happy that there's a lot of guys who have found liberation and freedom. And it's like, yeah, you can really, there's more of your body to use than your dick to get pleasure from. And I like that. But I also hate that a lot of that has now become our responsibility, for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what I want to do to you.
I think it's really interesting to talk because, yeah, when I got into porn,
Mm-hmm.
most of my goals were like essentially recreating like what people like Sasha Grey did, where all my
Mm-hmm.
influences were cis women, weirdly,
No,
for
I
getting
think
into
it's great.
porn. No, but
Yeah.
it is though, because like when I got into trans, like when trans mainstream porns were booking me, I was
Mhm.
like, Why would I do this? I don't like this." I'm like, "Who is this for?" And they're like, "Straight men."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I don't know if I want these straight men." I'm like, "I want people to see me get gangbanged and tortured in a dungeon and stuff."
Yeah, that's what I want people to see too. It's like that's what's fun for me, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I admire. That's what I envy. You know what I mean? When somebody comes out with a shoot and it's like one of my friends, you know, and I'm just like, girl, how'd you get that? You know, everyone's like, that looks like so much fun. I want that for me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my shit was like I wanted to do the porn that I would be jealous about someone else shooting, you know?
Exactly.
Where I'm like,
Yes.
if someone's doing that, I want to do that. And that's like been my
Exactly.
outlook. But it's like really interesting to hear about this whole world again because
Mm.
yeah, I feel like I got put in it originally just because I was like, well, I'm a trans woman, so they're like, okay, shemale.com, here you go. And I'm like, I'm good on that. I'm
No,
good.
thank you.
And it's like suck this toy for 35 seconds and then you do this for this many seconds and I'm just like that's not hot to
Yeah.
me personally. Did you like feel
Yeah.
that same way or not so
Yeah,
much?
there's some things where, you know, there's like, well, we want to give them like the real thing. And then they'll tell me what to do. I'm like, well, that's not the real thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what we're
Exactly.
doing. I was like, you want real, like, T for T sex. It's kind of like you're saying, like, if it's real T for T sex, there's going to be 15 minutes of us just telling each other how pretty we are. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
pretty. Like, I'm jealous of this. I'm jealous of that. And that's
Yeah.
how it's going to, 15 minutes of that. And then a little playful playing around. And then maybe like 69ing and stuff like that. And there probably won't be any topping, you know, like
Yeah,
sometimes that might happen. It's probably gonna be a
maybe
lot of,
finger. See,
yeah,
I'm a dyke.
fingers,
I'm like
toys,
fingers, toys,
vibrators.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like that's it to me. I'm like, whenever I hang out with like, I have a few cis male gay friends, and I
Mm-hmm.
always have the hot take because I'm a raging lesbian. I'm like, well, if you really like anal, technically strap-ons are better because they stay harder longer, and they all get mad
Yeah.
at me, and I'm like, they're like, that's homophobic. I'm like, you could be with a gay man, and he could just put a strap on, and you're fine.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's either way. I do like the feeling of like a real dick in me. You know what I mean? Like, I do like the feeling of like something, but like you said, it's like, yeah, but then you got to deal with it being hard or soft. But it's like, there's a feeling to it that I really like. And I think, you know, there's even just sometimes like that little bit of give or something like that. And that's really nice. But on the other hand, you get way more, there's a way more of a diversity when it comes to toys. You know what I mean? Like, well, today I want to get fucked with like a tentacle. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or I want to get fucked with the dick that's so big, like a human being would pass out. You know,
Hmm.
if they had this on them and they got hard, that's like, you know, half of their blood supplies in this thing. You can't get that. You know what I mean? So there's an appeal to both sides, definitely. You know,
I
I like the options are better. You know, it's more modular. You can literally just be
hmm.
like, you know what, today I'm getting fucked by this size or this shaped dick, you know, and it still can be with the same partner, you know, you don't have to switch out the entire person.
Yeah, I like to joke it's like baseball, where like on lower levels of baseball they use the aluminum bats that are like the most efficient, but on the higher levels they're like we have to use wood because of tradition.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like that's how it is in my head. I'm like it's a tradition. Um, but huge congrats going into AVN this year. How are you
Thank you.
feeling? Like what did this year look like performing for you? Because it sounds like you're getting back into doing more and more stuff.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah, because let's see, because you know I'm being out in New York, and I have one of my friends out here who's a producer. We're you know us and a few other trans girl performers out here are really trying to like bring back something of like, you know, there's the three big porn capitals in the country are like L.A., Vegas, and Miami. You know,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, there's so much good talent and there's so many good performers up here in New York,
For sure.
and we would really love to do it. The only problem with New York versus those other three is like, yeah, it gets fucking cold. You know, like
Very
half the year,
fucking
at least
cold.
down there, it's just like, girls have excuses to be in bikinis all day long. Because I grew up in Los Angeles area, so I know, from that, I'm just like,
Wait, so you
um,
grew up in LA, got into porn, and moved to New York?
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Huh, girl,
And it
that's
wasn't like I said, it was everything kind of clicked in its different ways. I grew up outside of Los Angeles, but LA was like, the closest city
yeah, greater LA
to
area.
me. And yeah, and then I moved away for a relationship. Broke up 6 months later. That was fun. But I was like, well, I'm over here now, and that was in Philly. Stayed there and that's when I was in Philly when I started to do porn. And then
Mm.
recently, 2 years ago, I moved up to New York for a different partner, and now I'm up here. So yeah, it was definitely like I went the wrong way around, and sometimes my partner's like, do you ever like, she's like worried or like, do you ever want to like move back to LA? I was like, I'll be real with you. If I was living in LA, work would be a lot easier because I'd be right there
Yeah,
ready to
for
go.
real.
So now what happens is that like as much as me and this producer and some other performers are trying to kind of get a good thing going up here, and there's a lot of people here who are interested, and we feel like let's make it work, let's try to get, for fuck's sake, I would love to have a talent testing headquarters
For
here, you
real.
know what I mean, to get those fast results instead of trying to like next day, and waiting 2 days
This shit's
to
so
get
fucking
this. It would be
annoying.
really nice. So we have our goals to doing that. So instead, what I have to do is book, tours and like tell the studios, hey, I'm coming out, trying to schedule and get everyone lumped into as many shoots as I can. So the results of that is like, I think one of my last trips out there, I was there for 2 weeks and I did like 18 shoots in 2 weeks,
Fuck.
which was like one a day at least, 2 a day most of the time. And it's just like bam, bam, bam. And it's like, and it's great because you got adrenaline and you're going for it and you're having fun. And then you get to the end of it and you take that flight home and then you just crash for like a
For
week
sure.
because you're just like, that was a lot. So it's exciting to being like, oh, I'm only going to be here for a limited time, and having people go, oh, okay, like we want to make the most of it while you're there. Because I'm like, you don't have to pay to fly me out. I'm already flying out, so I'm going to save you money. I'm going to be there. You don't have to worry about it. That's exciting, but it's also pain to just be like, if I was living in these areas full time, when they just needed somebody, I could just be there. And I know like my friends who live in LA, that's what they're all like, you need to be here. You know what I mean? Like that's how you're going to get these good shots and all this because you're here all the time and they're ready to shoot with you. You're not going to be like a 3 times a year specialty. Um, so that's like a mixed blessing. It's nice to feel that want when I'm there for a limited time only,
Hmm.
but there's also
Yeah.
that frustration of like, if I was here more, maybe I'd be getting a lot more work, or be easier, or when
Hmm.
someone has to reschedule because things come up, it wouldn't be as stressful because I'm like, well, I understand you had an emergency, but we can't reschedule for next week because next week I'm going to be back in New York, type of thing. Um, so that's, there's that, but I think overall it's just been beyond just that hype. Just the amount of other studios reaching out to me, wanting to
Hmm.
shoot with me. There's Mr. Red with Red Bottom Productions, who's really like just kind of
Oh
singled
yeah.
me out as being like I want to do stuff for you. You know what I mean? He's like, I
It's
want to like,
amazing.
he's like, I kind of want you to be like one of my, because he's starting to do like, trans specific porn.
Mm.
He's like, I want you to be one of my girls. And so he was the one that arranged for me to shoot with Brittany Cade, which was
Oh,
incredible. But
cool.
also, yeah, but also like the day, but this is like one of the trips I made out to the West Coast, like the day before. He's like, would you like to shoot with Brittany Cade? I was like, well, I would love to, but holy shit, like that's
Fuck.
huge. And he's like, cool. Like the day after you land, you're shooting with her, and I was like, oh, I'd really like to get like another shoot that's like kind of a lowball shoot, just to kind of get
Yeah, right?
me back into it. So it was like, nope. First thing off the plane, you're shooting with like the girl that you watched just clean the fucking house and in the award shows this earlier this year. I was like, okay, that's not no pressure. Um,
Yeah,
but she was wonderful to work with.
there's some of
She
those
was
those like starstruck shoots are so crazy.
she was yeah, but she was so cool. You know what I mean? Like she really like made me feel at ease, and she's so sweet and all that. And I love, just like I was saying with Natalie Mars, it's great when you get to meet these girls who are huge and they still like you connect with them and you just realize like, cool, we're relating. And it's so funny because like Brittany and I were sitting on the couch between like takes and we're just like talking and everyone's
Hmm.
just kind of like I think Mr. Red was like, "What are you two talking about?" We're like, "This is just what we're just this is what trans girls talk about." We're like asking like, "Where'd you get your boobs done? Where'd you get your hips done?" You know what I mean? Like we're just like going back and forth of like, "How'd you modulate yourself? What are you doing? For this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is normal." Um, but that was really cool. That was really nice to have that like, um, just that like people being like, "No, I believe in you." You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is nice," because I had such a like I felt so like humbled the first time, and being like, okay, I want to take a step back. I want to dial this in. And then coming back to it and being like, cool, I must be doing it right because it feels good to me and other people seem to be recognizing that. And so I'm like, let's keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I think it's so important to like go in with the right energy too and feel like you're putting the right
Mhm.
amount in where you're not burning yourself out and
Yeah.
you're doing it. And I think probably being a little bit older probably helps with that too because
I mean, it does and it doesn't. I think there's the maturity, you know what I mean, and me being
yeah.
like having worked, so many different kinds of jobs up until this point, working in
Mhm.
corporate, working all these other things, and just having, so many life experiences that I've had to go through that just have put a lot of things in perspective. And I know one of the things that people love about me with working with me is my work ethic. You know what I mean? That I'm
Mhm.
like I'm prompt. I know exactly like what to do, what to want, but I'm still like I'm not too serious. I'm like fun. I like to have fun on set. I like to keep everyone in a good mood, but I also like to make sure like I'm not slowing anything down. I'm helping things move forward. But the other side of it is that like I'm in my late 30s. I'm kind of like, I'm getting tired quicker. You know what I mean? Everyone's just like, we'll shoot at midnight. And I'm like, I turn into a pumpkin at midnight, like, let's get the scene done before then, please.
For real. Those late call times. Oh my God, I can't. I'm
Yeah, it's a
That was like that was the
lot.
worst thing about the public disgrace scene I did. It started at 9 p.m. So I didn't eat
Yeah.
all day. And then I had to be
Oh.
like, okay, I think we ended at 2 a.m. It was like 2 hours
Uh,
straight of gangbang, like I think with only three breaks. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay. At the end of
And you
that, I'm
start to
like,
get
okay.
you're like, I'm having a good time, but I'm also like emotional right now because I'm tired, and you're just kind of like, I'm holding it together. You're like, I just want a fucking hamburger right now. You're just like,
See,
please.
I feel shooting BDSM this long in my career, I feel like
Mhm.
now I'm like, I don't have to think. The Dom's just gonna tell me what to do, and if I don't do it, they'll just hit me. It's fine. You
That
know
is
what I
very
mean?
nice.
Where I'm
Yeah.
like, I hit a point where I'm like, wait, I don't need to overthink performance. I just need
Yeah.
to.
Well, that's what I love about like with bottoming too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm with like, if my co-star is this big strong guy. Like when I shot earlier this year with King Noir, it was
Oh,
fantastic because I was
awesome.
like,
He's great.
oh yeah, oh he's such a sweetie too.
Hmm.
But he's strong and he knows exactly what he wants, and I'm like, I just have to follow orders, and I'm having the fucking time of my
Yeah.
life. You know what I mean? I was like, great dick, great guy, like I'm in bliss, and he just tells me what to do. But then there's other times where I'm like, I'm shooting collabs, and I love like I'm not the kind of person that's going to be like, oh no, like shooting with you isn't going to do anything for my reputation or whatever, so I don't want to shoot with you. I'm like, no, it's like I shot with people, you know what I mean? People gave me a chance when I was just starting out, so it's like
Yeah.
I love it, like helping other girls who are just starting out. I'm like, yeah, let's
Hmm.
do it. But there's also that like when we get on set, I'm like, oh, I have to take charge because she
Yeah.
doesn't know what to do or she's a little nervous. I'm like, okay, it's mommy mode comes in. I'm like, it's me. I'm the mom of the set now. I need to get this in order, and I don't mind taking that role. But it also is like, okay, we're gonna have to work. You know what I mean? It's like it's not
Hmm.
just fun and being told what to do. But I'm also not I'm not the most traditional bottoms. Like I like to eat, and so it's like even if I'm bottoming, I'm just like I know my body, I know what I can put into it and what to do to make sure I'm, all cleaned out and ready to bottom. But I'm like, I'm not the ones that starve going into it because I was like, I will get cranky, if I don't eat. So I have that going for me at least.
I'm there's been a lot of dialogue about that on Twitter recently where about
Really.
anal like bottoming and being like, can you eat? And it's like, I cannot. Like,
Some people can, some people can't. I know like half the girls, I mean, most of the girls that I talk to are doing the like, they do all like the Metamucil and everything else and like just all the fiber to kind of just get themselves completely cleaned out. And I do the opposite. It's like I take Imodiums. You know what I mean? I take things that
I heard
block
that
me up.
too.
And I was like, I don't have to like worry about like, it's like with like I like Imodium because everything gets bricked up. You know what I mean? And I was like, if I have anything, it's easy to know it's in there and I can get it out. It's not like
Hmm.
there's no surprises on set. It's just like when I'm shooting like, like 2 weeks in a row, it's like obviously after a while, I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna have to pick a day when I can just kind of like not be bricked up for a little bit and get it all
For
out and this,
real.
but I do find it interesting that one tactic is get everything out completely and just be gutted and like empty from throat to butthole.
Yeah,
And then there's other
that's
people like
my plan. One time I do you know like the green apple Gatorade?
I know of it, but is there a secret to it? What is it?
Well, no, it's like bright green, right?
Oh
So I
no.
was doing this face fucking scene with this trans
Hmm.
guy, Jade Phillips, and it was a kitchen scene. I was like getting dominated on the floor, and they were
Hmm.
fucking my face and then like spraying the water in my face with like one of the things
Yeah,
at the same time.
hot.
But I didn't tell anyone on set that I was like, oh yeah, I drank that on the way to set. So I vomited in the scene, which like happens in my scenes a lot, but no one on
Hmm.
set knew. So it was like bright green. So everyone on set thought I was having a medical emergency.
Yeah, they're like, this is like The Exorcist now.
They're like, "Oh my God, are you okay? We need to stop." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I did that." So ever since, I'm like, only clear liquids. I don't want to put anyone through that because the
Hmm.
performer was also like, "Oh my God, did I like rupture something in her?"
Oh no, that's embarrassing. But yeah, you're like, I'm fine. I'm fine. This
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. From now on, I'm like, okay, clear everything. Day of
I've
shoot,
had
no
I've
eating.
had that with when I ate beets before, and then
Oh,
like cleaning myself out and being like, oh no, it's just like, why is it coming out like blood red? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't even. We hadn't even shot yet. Why am I already bleeding? And then I was like, oh, it's just beets. I just ate a lot of beets, and I'm like, all right, not gonna do that again. I don't want
see,
anyone to freak out.
to break the fourth wall here before every podcast with people, I'm like, we're gonna talk about the positive things about porn, the negative, everything in between. This is the in between part of porn. Because like there's no other podcast talking about this.
Yeah,
This is
right.
like the real industry part of porn.
The bottoming, yeah, the things that the bottoms go through. I
Oh,
even just saw like a meme today that cracked me up. It was someone's medicine cabinet, and it was filled with like Imodiums, Tums, like Metamucil, all these other things. And the person's caption it was just like, it's like, girl just shit on him. Oh my god. I was like,
and
that killed me. I was like, holy shit, no, we can't do that. We're not on
it's a
set.
well, there's two places.
Uh-huh.
So like I travel a lot for like work and shit.
Uh-huh.
So like in Germany, that's totally allowed.
Okay.
And same in Japan. So you're like at a porn store and you're like, oh, cool. Like, especially in Japan, it's like they have way more BDSM than we do. Way better
Oh, I know.
BDSM.
I've seen some of the Japanese things. I
Yeah.
got real excited because the company reached out to me to shoot with me, and I was super excited because like I love Japan. I was
Go.
back in back in college. I actually was like, I studied it, and I dated a girl from Osaka and all these other things. So I
Oh,
actually got like
nice.
a grasp of the language, and I went there and I had a great time. Everyone made fun of my accent. It was fine, because I
Yeah.
had wasn't just because I was an American. It wasn't the Gaijin accent. It was a combination of my teacher who taught us very formal Japanese that only like
Hmm.
gay guys use, and then my Osakan girlfriend who gave me that like the drawl like the from
Yeah.
Osaka. And my accent was a combination of all three of those things. And every time I talked, they were just like your conversation, like your accent is crazy. Come over here. We're buying you a drink. You're going to talk to my friends. So I was a spectacle. But it's like that was years ago. All that's gone now. But I was real excited when I got reached out by this company, and I don't know if I just got too excited for them or if they went with someone else. But they just stopped. Like they were just
Oh,
they. I think I know, I was just heartbroken because they were saying like, okay, we want to put you for these scenes. Are you okay with getting cummed on by 50 guys? And I was like,
fuck
fuck yeah,
yeah.
I am. They're like, cool,
Fuck
we'll pay you
yeah.
$10,000 for that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, you're paying me. Cool. I was just gonna go do it for fun.
Yeah, right? I'm like, that's the dream. That's like crazy shoot for a decent chunk of money. Like, fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
I was just like, that sounds like a blast. So I was like, I want to try again, not with that company, but I think I definitely want to reach out to more Japanese companies just because I know they do more extreme stuff. And I'm like, I'm your girl. Like, let's do this. I love this kind of shit. Let's go.
Yeah, also like there's more of a content trade model there now too. Because before the pandemic, stuff like mini vids or OnlyFans didn't exist there. And then during the
Oh,
pandemic, those all hit. So now
yeah.
there's like a whole class of people who are now content creators there who are doing like
Oh,
content trade and
interesting.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really fucking cool.
that
Yeah,
is
I
cool.
fucking love the vibe of like I've been there two or three times. Every time I go during cherry blossom season and I learn that
Oh, beautiful.
I'm super allergic though, so like half my trip's really
Oh no.
fun. And like this last one, I had a suspension bondage shoot planned, and I'm like, well, I can't move my head a certain way, so I
Oh.
need to cancel. So yeah, I
Oh
was
no.
stuck in bed for I think a week with allergies
Oh, you poor
there. It's
thing.
it was fine though. It was
Okay,
fine. I learned
okay.
all about Japanese allergy medicine. Know a lot now.
You learn Japanese fast, when it's like life or death.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works. But yeah, so what are you like? How are you going into this like AVN season? Like, I'm assuming you're planning on attending.
Yep, I'm definitely attending.
Hell
I'm doing,
yeah.
like I said, this year I'm going into it with more of like last year I was there observing more. And
Yeah.
so this year I know more of like, okay, I want to go. I've got a publicist now who I'm kind of like, he's like, oh, I'm going to introduce you to these people, these people. I'm like, fantastic. That's what I want to do. I want to network. So I'm really going there to network. I'm signing at three different booths, so
Nice.
there'll be
Have you
a
done
lot of
that
that.
before?
Last year I wasn't officially at one of the booths, but
Mm-hmm.
like when I came by to just stop, just to see that, they're like, you can just like set up here. And I was like, I didn't bring headshots, but like, okay, I'll just like, like kiss cards or something like that. And I just did a
Yeah.
little bit of that just casually. And I was like, this
Cute.
is fun. But they were like, okay, this year we really want you to be actually like one of the signers. And I'm like, got it. So did that. And so now I'm doing the nightmare of trying to schedule signing at three places, but also trying to get as much collabs in as I can while I'm
Oh my
there, like,
God,
or
girl.
shoots. And I'm like starting to look at the picture of like, your plan was not to get overwhelmed, and maybe you're going to be overwhelmed. But I'm definitely like, I'm going there. Like I usually like when I was at Exotica earlier this year,
Mhm.
it's like it's kind of a networking thing. You know what I mean? It's like I like doing that. I like talking to people, getting to know people, and kind of like, I've got some, great friends where, they introduce me to people, I link them up with other people, and we all just kind of like feed each other this stuff. And
Mhm.
I love that. You know what I mean? I love that culture and that friendship of that. So yeah, I'm going into doing that. I'm going to be at the XMAs, even though I didn't get nominated for anything.
Oh, nice.
Because I missed the train on that one. I misunderstood some of like their nomination season stuff, and I just kind of like didn't get in at I got in just when they closed, and I was like, okay, like
Oh,
next year I'll be more prepared for it. But I'm still going to go this year to
nice.
doing the networking thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, gonna do that so that'll be like a 2 week thing. So like I said,
Oh,
I'm
you're
like,
doing back to back. Yeah,
well,
I'm
because the
nominated for
XMAs
the
are,
X.
are the weekend before
Yeah.
AVNs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do both. I'm nominated for it. I'm not going. So if I win,
Oh,
you can grab my trophy.
okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think I'm gonna win, but if it happens, you're more than happy to be like, I'm Chelsea Poe, I'm taking it. That's
I'm
fine.
going to take. I mean,
Um,
don't be surprised though if you called me and say, "Hey, where'd that go?" And I'm like, "Well, I scratched your name out and put my name in on
that's
there."
fine. That's fine. That's fine.
You're like, "I've got enough trophies. I don't need it."
They're like 30-year-old trans girl. Sure, same, same, sure, same. Um, yes, I have a few more questions for you. I've had such a great
Okay.
time talking to you. I'm so glad we could like dive into like mainstream trans porn world stuff because I'm like been
Mhm.
so out of it for so long. So just hearing about it again, I'm like, oh yeah, that
Yeah,
exists.
you're like, "That's
You
still
know,
here. That's still around." Yeah, and
I
I'm
know
still like,
it.
huh?
I know
Sorry,
it
go.
is, but like I'm just not around it. You
Yeah,
know?
and like I said,
Yeah.
I'm like really just technically last year was when I really have entered back into it, and so it's like I still feel kind of like a babe in the woods in a lot of things. I'm still trying to figure things out. So it's cool to know that like someone who's really experienced in this knows it how it was back then and knows a lot about it, and me just like trying to figure it out. And us trying to like cross compare these experiences.
Yeah,
I think
I
we're
love
both getting a
that.
good picture. Hmm.
That was kind of like my goal when I saw you were nominated for like the best new trans starlet or
Hmm.
I'm just gonna call it that because that's what it should be
Best,
called.
yeah, best new trans, yeah, Starlet. Yeah, I like that better than
Yeah,
Newcomer.
because that's what the thing for cis girls is. Wouldn't it just be like trans girl version?
You
Question
think
mark? I
so?
think
Yeah.
so.
I try not to think
Um,
too much about it.
right? So how do you feel about your chances going into
I
particularly for that one because that's
I'm
like
skeptically optimistic. You know what I'm
okay.
saying? Like I look at the other girls that are nominated and I'm like, these are all great girls. You know what I mean? Like they all
Yeah.
have just as much chance as I winning. And then I look at some of them, I was like, they have a better chance of winning than I do. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay humble about it, but like, I don't like I like to be I'm going into it so that if I win, I will be delightfully surprised. You know what I mean? I don't want to be devastated. And I think devastation comes from being so like, so egotistical that you're just like, there's no chance, you know what I mean, that any girl can win this over me. It's like that's
Yeah.
not the attitude I have in anything in my life. It's like I look at everybody being like, wow, we're all great people, we're all wonderful, we're all beautiful. Um, but obviously it would be, it means so much to me if I won because I love this industry and receiving the award would be like
Hmm.
that love letter,
For
coming back, like
sure.
someone writing that love letter back to me. And I'm like, oh, this would mean so much to me. And I know that, my goal is to get as much studio gigs as I can. And as I said, like being older, sometimes like you can, get older and keep doing this work,
For
but it
sure
gets
you can.
harder. It's harder to compete against these younger girls who the industry typically likes to go to. So to me, I'm like, some of you girls, you have a lot more time here. I was like, I don't like the window's closing on mine. So I was like, I'd really
I
like to
don't
get
think
that
so,
award.
girl.
Thank you. But
Girl, you you could totally be doing this at 60. Like that's
yeah,
how I'm
girl.
viewing it. I'm like, I want to be doing the most fucked up porn at any
I,
age. I
I mean,
want to
well, I'm
be.
my strategy, I wouldn't even call it a strategy, but what I've been doing lately is just leaning into, like I said, when I'm on set and I'm like, oh, I'm the mom. You know what I mean? Just kind of like I'm the oldest one here, or I'm, the one with the most amount of responsibilities. So a lot of the girls who I'm friends with who are like younger than me, and even some of these other people are just like lean into the MILF thing, and I'm like, okay, I think I might because
Yeah,
I
you
am mommy,
should.
just like that is a
Yeah.
natural thing for me. So I was like, if I worked that up, I could still, I could get a couple more years out of this, working from that angle. But it's like I love this industry. I'll keep doing stuff if people keep casting me, and if I stop getting cast, then I'll keep doing my own content stuff. And eventually, I know I'd love to be on. I do my own editing. I was a professional editor before. I started doing this, so I was like,
Mhm.
I could see myself being on the production side of this industry after the modeling stuff has kind of like ran its course for me. But I still have that like that feeling of kind of like, I have the momentum right now. Let's
Yeah,
get
you
that award
do.
while I have the momentum, because I don't know if I've got that energy to play, the industry hard, in the future. I'll still be in the industry, down the line is
Hmm.
my belief when I'm looking at this and
Yeah,
what I would like for myself. But it's also like this is work, this is a lot of work.
hmm,
And it's
for
I want
sure.
to, if I have the eyes on me right now, I would love to make that happen and bring something home, because I am a little bit of a materialist. I want to be able to show something, being like, look, I'm good at this.
You're gonna get some trophies, like whether it's an AVN, a T, whatever other award
Thank you.
show.
I hope
Like you're
so.
you're going to. Like I think it's just gonna be a matter of time, and I think so
Yeah.
much about this industry is just continuing to create kind
Yeah.
of during all the industry bullshit because there's gonna be industry
Yeah.
bullshit. I feel like everyone
Yeah.
feels burnt out. Everyone
It's scary.
gets times where they feel betrayed. Like,
Yeah, and it's scary right now with this
yeah,
weird puritanical bullshit happening in the country, and not just here, and elsewhere in the world, where they're just like, porn is a problem, and it's just like,
yeah.
oh really? Like that's what's causing all these horrible things all over the country is just naked people? I don't think so, but I know a lot of people are feeling the pinch. When you
Yeah.
have so many states that are just locking down these weird arbitrary rules
Hmm.
about being even able to create porn in the area, and then overseas, I know they're locking down on things too. So I know everyone's feeling the pinch right now. And as a
Hmm.
sex worker, we're viewed as a luxury. So as soon as the economy is doing bad, we're usually one of the first people that really start to feel the economy turning. So I know a lot of people are stressed right now. The studios are stressed, and the models relying on them are stressed. And so I think, like you said, like the people who push through it and stick to it through this time are the ones who are really going to come through it. So that's what I'm hoping for,
Yeah.
because I'm hanging on. I'm making things work, It's like things could be, I would be love to be making more money, obviously, than
I
I
mean.
can, but I'm making enough to get by right now,
Yeah, that's capitalism, though. I mean, we
That's
all
capitalism.
would, right? I'm like, I wish as well, but you're not only surviving. I mean, you're thriving. You're up for one of the biggest trans awards, and it's like fucking a big deal. I know. I think in this industry, you're around so many other people who are being nominated for so many things, but even if you don't win, you're effectively in the top 10 or top 15 in
That's
that
how I like to look at
category
it.
in the fucking
Yeah.
world, and that's fucking crazy. Because if you're
Yeah.
number 15 or number 2 in anything else in the world, you would be like, what the fuck? How is this possible? You know?
That's what I do
Yeah.
too. There's the two wolves inside of you kind of thing. There's that one part of me that's just like, girl, you made it. Look at you. You like, I remember a couple years ago when I'm like, God, if I just was nominated, it would mean the world to me.
Yeah.
And then I got nominated. I was like, God, if I could just win an award, it would mean the world to me. And I could win an award and be like, gosh, if I had 5 awards, it would just mean the world to me. It's gonna keep
Yeah.
like I'm just, give a mouse a cookie type of situation.
For real.
But that's my drive, and it's like that's just what keeps me going. It's like I like making little steps, little accomplishments, and it's like when I reach it, I'm like I want to now set a new goal, and if I don't make it, I don't make it. But I love working towards it and knowing that like I've told people before, I'm like, I don't mind failing at reaching my goal as long as I know I did everything I could. That's what feels good, is like, hey, you know what, you did your best. And look at, even if you didn't get your next goal, look at all the goals you did reach, like all the
Mm-hmm.
steps that you
For
set for
real.
yourself that you did do. And that's something I'm appreciative of, because I knew like last year I was like, I was like, gosh, if I can just get a nomination. And then I got like 6
Yeah.
nominations and I was like, phenomenal, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
now I want that award, but I'm still proud of the nominations. For like the teas last year, I was, best hardcore performer nominated. And that just was like I said, I was like, I don't expect to win, but I'm up here with these big time girls, you know what I mean? And that was
Yeah.
like, that alone feels incredible. And I'm still feeling the euphoria from that, and the gratefulness and
Mm-hmm.
appreciation of just kind of like, this is really cool, as somebody who's kind of new to doing the mainstream stuff and is an older girl who transitioned later. And I have these things that I would look at myself and think these are obstacles to getting that nomination, but I did it anyways.
Yeah, you did it. Did
Yeah.
you say you went 0 for 5 at the T Awards?
I got 5 T nominations last year. I was it was up for best hardcore performer, Miss Unique, and best self producer. And
Nice.
then two of my scenes, like best VR and best I think girl. Yeah.
Did you win
Um
any?
no.
Girl, I literally did the same thing there once. I went 0 for 5 and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
You mentioned
what
that
is
when you mentioned that
happening?
earlier, I was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
know
yeah.
that feeling. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't like, I wasn't disappointed, because like I said, it was like my first year. I was just blown away that I got 5 nominations. You know what I mean?
I won Best Movie the next year, so I
Oh,
think it's gonna be a good
congratulations.
omen for you. I think it's gonna
Okay,
happen.
yeah.
I think
All
it's gonna
right. All
happen.
right. Thank
It's gonna happen.
you. Knock on wood.
Yeah, so let's say Saturday night, AVN, you win. What's the celebration plan in Vegas?
Oh, I mean, first wiping the tears out of my eyes and trying to get myself back composed. I'm like, okay, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm
Yeah.
just going to like, just the emotion, you know what I mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
when you've had a great scene and you're emotional, and you're crying, you're like, I'm not sad, I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, I have been
Yeah.
holding up so much, like just kind of pushing through, and then suddenly it's that release, just feels incredible. So I could see myself being overcome,
Hmm.
and immediately wanting to thank every single person. I'll probably be a drink or two in by that point, so I'll probably be that like, I just
Yeah.
love you so much, like, as I would be here without you, type of thing. Um, and then knowing me, it's like, I want to say that I'm going to be out partying all night, but knowing me, I'll get sleepy and I'll want to go back home and like lay down, and I'm just going to cuddle up next to my trophy.
It also depends on like what time your flight is the next day too.
That's
Where
true.
I'm like, if it's early morning, you have to do it all night. You have to party all night. Like you
Oh,
have
that's
to.
true. Because if you try to go to sleep, you're just going to be groggy in the morning.
And
You
then
want to
you have
have
to
that like,
be, yeah.
no, I'm flying out Monday, but to a shoot. I was like
Okay.
originally going to leave Monday and come back. I was actually going to go to one of my partners after that and have like, because that's like my tradition. I do a tour and then I stop at one of my partner's places in Detroit. And I
Oh,
just have
nice.
like a week of just like being a sloth at her place to just
Oh,
like
cute.
decompress. And it's great because
Yeah.
like, she's Sicilian, so she just wants to take care of me and feed me. And I'm like, this is perfect.
Love that.
But now it's like, but then I got someone who wanted to, book me for a shoot, and they're like, well, we're going to shoot you right after the AVNs, and it's in Phoenix. So I'm like, okay, so when we're done at the AVNs, I have to get another flight to Arizona, do a shoot. They want like 3 shoots in one day, and then I get to go to Detroit. So I'm like, like I said, I'm going into this being like, whatever
Damn.
you need to do, girl, to keep, you're going to have to rally day after day. And I know I can do it, but goddamn, is that crash out going to be hard when I get to the end of it? And I'm so glad I can just go to Detroit and just,
So
just
you're
fall
doing
apart.
LA, Vegas, Phoenix, Detroit, then back to New York.
Yeah.
Holy shit, girl.
And my partner
Well,
I live with now, I'm just like, I'm not going to see you for a month. I'm sorry.
please self-care. Please self-care.
I'm
And
going
definitely say
to.
hi if you see me. I'll definitely be around.
Okay. I
But
would love to
yeah,
see you.
yeah,
Come by
it
and see
was,
me, because I will be, I'll, I'm sure you know what it's like, but when you're there and you're seeing so many different people,
yeah,
like I will look you directly in the eye and being like, she looks familiar. And I just won't remember. And then you just be like, hi, we did a podcast. I'm like, oh, fuck,
yeah.
yes, hi.
pale girl with red hair. That's me.
The
But
lesbian with the red
yeah.
hair.
That's literally what Transform's view of me was when I first got there. Like that lizard who's gonna ruin everything with red hair. That was my vibe. That was my vibe. Um, but thank you so much for coming on. This has
Thanks for
been so
having
much
me.
fun.
Yeah.
Plug all your stuff. Let everyone know where to find you on everything.
I usually tell everyone just go to my website because that's just kind of like the list links type of thing. It's Kaela Luna, just KaelaLuna.com. That'll have all my lists. ManyVids is the kind of the place I like to direct people to if you want to see like
Yeah.
stuff I made. I have a section of stuff that leads to all the studio porn I've done. If you're more interested in like what I've done for Groovy or Trans Angels or anything like that, or if you want to see like the shoot I did with Brittany Kate or Pierce Paris, like that's a DVD that Red Bottom Productions put out. That's listed there too, and then below that is all my Twitters. There's my main account. There's the Giantess account. Because I'd like to keep those two separately because otherwise people
I
get
love
very
that you have
confused.
both. When I was
I,
like, when I first looked at you, I was like, this girl has a giantess account. All right, girl. That's
yeah,
great.
and I love because that's like one of my personal ones, and I have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's like I speak to my Sizey fans completely different than I do with my other ones, and it's
I
really
would
funny when the two
imagine.
of them leak over. You know what I mean? I can tell when somebody got lost, who's like my mainstream person, and they came over there like, what the fuck, you know? And other times
Yeah.
I'm on my mainstream stuff, and one of my Sizey people comes in, will say something, and I'm just like, what are you doing here? Like nobody's gonna know what you're talking about, you know? I'm doing like some bottoming scene, and they're just like, oh, I wish I was tiny and got shoved up your ass, and then like all the other people in the comments are like, what the fuck? And I'm like, don't worry about him.
Yeah, I have that with some mainstream too, BDSM stuff. They're like, "Why is that girl being so mean to you?" I'm like, It's the scene. It's not real. It's just for
Yeah.
fun. It's for fun. She's not actually disappointed in me."
Exactly. Yeah. So that's I like to keep the two separately just
Yeah.
for that. But every now and then you get a new fan. I've gotten some people who were like, I didn't think I was into Giantess stuff, and then I watched some of your stuff, and now I'm like, I'm really into the idea of you eating me. I'm like, fantastic. Thanks for
Hell
coming.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thanks
and I
again.
hope you have the best time in Vegas, and
Yeah.
hopefully you win and can eat so much Sicilian food after.
Yes.
All right, bye
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.